If you came from TikTok, welcome. And thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. I might as well just be doing ASMR tarot because why am I talking so low? Okay. My niece, she's about this small. Okay. So just being mindful as much as I can. But if you hear other people, that's probably her mommy and daddy playing games because we're all gamers in this house. I'm I'm genuinely excited for this reading. I really am. There's just something about the Libra full moon. It's just so. It's like a lot of us are reaching the stage of becoming, which is a forever malleable, mutable experience, right? And I'm just, yeah, I hope you guys are feeling it too. But anyway, we're going to get right into it. All right. Amethyst is going to be pile one. Citrine is going to be pile two. Ocean Jasper is going to be pile three. And I'll see you at your respective piles. Okay, if you chose pile one, this is for you. This is definitely for you, pile one. Because if I'm not mistaken, we talked a lot about you shifting the internal paradigm in order to receive in the external paradigm. Okay, receive exactly what it is that you deserve. And it has a lot to do with you changing your belief system, and changing your belief system. You are doing, I'm getting a mixture of so many different things. So many different things. Because we have the Nine of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Ten of Wands here. First, okay, because I'm getting two different things. I'm getting the storyline of a parent, maybe a feminine figure, who has bared the weight of compensating for so long. This is someone who is more than likely a maternal figure. Okay. Someone who spent a lot of time investing in their children and feels as if they're not really getting anything back in return. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, there is some of you that have been so accustomed to being the lover girl, lover guy, lover person. You know, you like to create quality experiences for your partners. You do. You like expensive dates. You like going on trips. And I feel like it's nothing to you. It's just the simple fact that you're not attracting someone who is able to pull their own weight when it comes to finances. And here's the thing, I feel like you're a very compromising person. You're very understanding. You're very blessed to have the type of security that you have. I think what really pisses you off is that these people, money or not, they lack in so many other departments that can be very, very rewarding to you. Or, I mean, it would just shift the dynamic completely. Like, these people don't compensate in a way that you do. You're someone who's very attentive. You're someone who's very emotionally intelligent. And it's just kind of like for you to be putting out so much cash, or paying attention to every little detail, every little thing that a person likes. If they like roses, I'll get the roses. Or I forgot this person doesn't eat red meat. Let me choose the alternative for them, for tonight's dinner. It's things of that particular nature. It's the fact that you don't attract considerate partners. You're starting to realize that your love language, above all, is consideration. And some of these people just don't have it. They don't have it, man. They really just don't. I'm getting a lot of scenarios revolving you having that particular partner that just or somebody that you dealt with, I should say, who's just so accustomed to starting drama between you and your friends. I'm hearing this song by Destiny's Child, and I believe Timbaland produced it. How does it go? Get on a cab, get on a bus. It has a lot to do with someone not being able to compensate for themselves, not only for themselves, but for you. Thinking of Caught Up um, by Kelly's. But that dynamic is shifting. You're going through this very intense experience where, or I'm gonna say this because I normally don't like to gauge where things fall on the timeline. I'm not always necessarily interested in, the future. But what I do see is a big blowout that becomes costly between you and this person, or this is something that could have already happened. Because I'm seeing a lot of 13s within the spread. Or the gift of foresight and the gift of pattern recognition. Or maybe you're somebody that is just really, really good at understanding the archetypes that you deal with. And you pull the plug way before it escalates even further. Way before they compromise one of your accounts, fuck up your credit, things like that. And before you know it, you're out the jam. I feel like, yeah, because I see all of these numbers in this middle row add up to 9. And nines, I like to equate that to foresight, which everybody has a different opinion on what certain numbers could possibly mean. But when I equate that to the ninth house, I always will always say that knowing is half the battle. And then the ninth house, that has a lot to do with higher learning, education, etc. Or even luck, expansion. And I like to think luck is when opportunity meets chance. So for you, it's you being equipped with understanding the practical aspects of behavior and getting some type of intuitive understanding of, you know, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Because this is about to tweak on me, so I need to get the fuck out. I see you being on a hiatus because you're just exhausted. You're exhausted. This is one of those things where you experience burnout, okay, and all of the relationships that have occurred because you're just like, what the fuck's next? I just gotta work on me because that's the only way I'm gonna be able to attract better. And kudos to you for getting this, philosophy in order. On the other end of the spectrum, I feel like I'm speaking to a maternal figure. Some of you are parents in general. Mm. And I feel like it's taken a long time for you to I guess I almost want to say child rear. I feel like I'm speaking to a lot of you that, for being quite honest, grew up taking care of yourselves without a real responsible parental figure. Very, 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 very. You've had a pretty tumultuous journey and figuring out how to set boundaries, figuring out what your real love language is, and if we're being quite honest, figuring out how to be flexible, malleable, and adapting that love language, because I'm getting, for some of you, you have more than one child. You might have two, you might have three, you might have a whole football family of kids. And almost everyone is different. Everyone is unique. But there's one particular issue with the relationship dynamic that it's falling wayside, you're not getting through to them. It might be the youngest child, out of the bunch, because I'm seeing a lot of like ones and threes here. Not saying that they're like a toddler, but they could be on their way to becoming a teenager real soon. And they don't necessarily understand hmm, they don't, they haven't necessarily broke the surface of, understanding how relationship dynamics work and what reciprocation looks like. They sort of have a tough time figuring out how to express their appreciation. And I can see that this child has like a lot of fire in them, and they just have a tendency to misdirect it or be easily influenced by any and everything around them. But if there's one thing that I do know for sure, is that this child of yours is really, really dying to be independent. And you want to just keep them where they are, retain their innocence, because they're so eager to want to get it out on their own. It could be influenced by like an older demographic, like ages between 17, 18. And with people being so exposed to the internet so early and early, the further generations sort of like transpire, they become so easily impressionable to any and everything. With this kid, you gotta get pretty unique with the way that you can integrate a system that makes him feel as if he is earning something. But no. Let me dial back. Understanding emotional boundaries is where the disconnect might be for this person. There needs to be rehabilitation, or maybe even setting a proper foundation on how this person can respect his own authority. Because the way that he's pursuing some things, I can tell, has been pretty destructive. And I feel like that's as far as I'm going to go with that. Ten of Wands, Eight of Wands. But you're exhausted. You're exhausted. And if we're being quite honest, it almost makes you want to unplug and disconnect completely. Because it seems as if you also invest a lot into your children. I'm not speaking from a space of a parent, but I do counsel, a lot of people of all demographics. You never stop learning. You never stop learning. And this is a way where you can figure out how to integrate some unique techniques without having to experience burnout or feel as if you're giving way too much. I feel like I want to go back to the other energy that has a lot to do with This person has a tendency to overgive in their relationships. I'm getting like this synchronicity surrounding John Tucker must die. I can just feel, I can feel the retaliation you want to bring upon somebody. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Let it go. Don't do it. I don't have anything else for this power besides continue to build rapport with yourself. Forgiving yourself is also important because I don't think you should ever regret the way that you love, the way that you invest in people. Because for some of you, it's the only way you know how. The last one was a little bit sporadic, a little bit chaotic, I'd even say. Let me see what your messages are saying. Knight of Wands. Right, Power 2. This one feels a little bit more at ease. Although you're very eager to learn a lesson. Understanding yourself a little bit more. Okay? I'm getting a lot of you may understand the psychology of why people are the way that they are. And it doesn't always negate how you feel. You still take a face value of how you feel. But it's almost as if you're choosing to love anyway. Oh my gosh, that feels good. It really does. And this is what I mean. It's not like a forgive and forget. There's a lot of people that you've been friends with in the past, but you'll always cherish those moments with. And you can accept the reality that you all are no longer a unit, no longer as close as you used to be. And a lot of you, you're still working through it. And you understand that it's a working process. It's a wound that has to be cauterized every so often. But the way that you do it now is not through frustration, it's not through anger, it's not through lamenting the what ifs. It's just for you appreciating what it was and what it isn't. But again, it's not in a sad way. I'm not getting there's any grief or any sadness. It's like coming across an old Snapchat memory or old videos, aftermath of a party or moments in class and going, yeah, I remember that. That was a good time. I hope they're doing well. And just going about your day. That's really what it is. I promise you, that's really what it is. And you're fine with it. I feel like for a lot of you, or some of you, we're going to say some of you are still somewhat restricted or tied to, do I want to say that? Yeah. Yeah. A very passionate relationship that you had in the past. It felt as if it was a never ending roller coaster. You all would be separate, for quite some time. And then you'll come back together. And every aspect of your body will be lit up for this person. It's almost as if you all took so many years to learn one another. And oh my gosh, and for a good percentage of you, it has a lot to do with a connection that never really got a chance to be picked up off the ground. You all would talk, be at a distance from one another. This person may be in a different country. Ugh. And it would just be such a magnetic pull towards one another. And I don't think you guys have ever seen each other in person, but the chemistry is just felt miles and miles away. I keep hearing Miles Away by Boz. Mm. And I believe because of this person, or because of this connection not being able to be picked up off the ground, there's so many things that has come with it. It's like I'm hearing false promises. This person is slowing down the wind in your sails, you know, feeding you what ifs. And there's only so many times where you can really blame a person. At some particular point, you start to blame yourself for everything that felt so digestible, felt so real. This is something that really made you bitter. This is something that really, really, really gave you a hard time, because this person, in so many ways was manipulating you. You probably found out that this person was already in a relationship. They're already committed to someone else. And that in a way they were cheating on their spouse by being emotionally involved with you. And I feel like that is just something that just seems so heartbreaking. It's something that really kept you bound to yourself, and it was just keeping you further and further away from the idea of, a solid relationship being a thing. It's been a struggle. Yeah, very much a struggle. And with the 9 here, I'm getting it took for you to, I wouldn't say at some point you were weaponizing your faith, or maybe even deconstructing some of your beliefs in order to try and make sense of. Some of you are really blaming yourselves because, I feel like some of you are intuitive enough or intuitively capable enough to, peep whether or not if you'd be involved in a situation like this. It's almost like I know better than this. Like, how would I get myself involved in a situation where I don't know that someone is involved with someone else? And that can take a toll. That can take a toll on anybody. That can make you feel insecure, in regards to your own emotional intelligence or your own intuitive capability. For some, you have to acclimate to understanding your nervous system, how to regulate it. Because when you're in a frenzy state, you're not able to fully discern what your intuition is trying to tell you. So you're getting into things like doing yoga, getting into things like acupuncture, getting into things like breath work in order to start acclimating to what your intuition tells you when your nervous system has been deregulated or balanced. I don't think there's any more messages for you. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for you, Paul 2. Good luck for you, and I'm proud of you. Cheers to a new journey where you're beginning to trust yourself even more. All right, Paul 3, if you chose Ocean Jasper, rightfully so, because you are somebody that's choosing to still love in spite of some of the trials and tribulations that you've been through. Paul 3, I might be speaking to someone who has Venus in a detriment sign. So that could be Virgo, it could be Aries, it could be Scorpio. But Scorpio especially, maybe even Venus Sagittarius. I'm getting a lot of Venetian qualities here because Venus has a lot to do with knowledge. A lot of people will say that it does have a lot to do with love, attraction, wealth. But knowledge is the true pinnacle of wealth. And it's because of your discernment, your understanding the psychology of people, understanding that everybody has their own complexities, learning when to detach, learning when to invest. It's improved your quality of life because you're not the person that ends up involving themselves in drama or feeling the need to always address issues. I feel like I'm speaking to someone who has reached the point in their life where you can look at someone and you can know who's worth investing in and who isn't. You can look at someone and know who is worth taking a chance on and who isn't. We've been getting a lot of nights through all of these readings, every single one of them, especially Nine of Wands. So this is about reaching the end of a lesson. But for you, it's understanding that you no longer need to struggle or utilize failed relationships or what ifs or second chances as your catalyst and evolution. You're somebody that no longer needs to rely on impulse, rely on mistakes in order to be given a catalyst for your evolution. You're past that. Even though nights may be considered oftentimes an impractical person, an impulsive person, immature even, you've developed such an intuition. You develop such a sense of profound trust with yourself. You have become the true pinnacle for understanding or mastering the seventh house, okay, which is where Libra naturally governs itself, or is governed by its seventh house, which is business, partnerships, etc. Your understanding of partnerships isn't confined to relationships with just people or relationships with the tangible. You've deepened your relationship with the intangible, okay, the unseen, or understanding that you having mastered, or I want to say developing a relationship with yourself is how you have a better relationship with other people. And so you know how to resolve conflict. You know how to nip something in the bud before it rises. I could be speaking to fellow tarot readers. Okay? Develop your own unique sense, own unique keen way of reading. Reading energies, discerning things beyond your perception, beyond the naked eye. I think this is also just learning how to be practical in the way that you discern your intuition in general. Learning how to validate your feelings when it's time. Learning how to look at the threads of synchronicities to, make sense of the bigger picture of a message that's being delivered to you. Could be speaking to someone who has placements in the ninth house, which means you are committed to higher learning. You know that there is more to life than what society tries to project on you. And maybe for a long time, you had struggled with the relationship of society's perception versus your own. You're always met with opposition for something that felt out of the box. You always had some pretty peculiar perspectives, peculiar interests even. It could be that your interest in occultic studies is what set you apart from a lot of people, but in so many ways kept you ahead. And with the Five of Wands reverse, and this deck is ruled by Jupiter, so it took a lot of unlearning. And I keep saying unlearning, unlearning, unlearning. Maybe because you are so accustomed to absorbing information through methodologies that just felt so maybe uninteresting to you. It could be that you are neurodivergent. And you weren't always able to process information in the most neurotypical way or in a digestible way that everybody else, were accustomed to. Unbeknownst to you, you've kind of always needed, I don't know, a pedagogy in a way where you're able to integrate, something fun in order to fully digest it. Some of you might use games as an interface to sort of develop your intuition skills. Whatever the case may be, you have a tendency to persevere, for discovering what your truth is, against everyone else's. Your sense of conviction and self is, quite honestly, is what's forming a deeper relationship with your sense of trust, in return, your sense of intuition. Whatever is about to happen for you, after the full moon or in this phase of life, isn't something that's going to be coincidental or by luck or by chance. This is something that you worked diligently and hard for. It's really, really hard to have faith in something that you can't see. It's really, really hard having so much trust in the divine and, fighting, not going against your word whenever you're being brought, a suggestion or an offer that puts you in a complete opposite direction that your intuition is telling you to go. You are going to see how rewarding it truly is when you persist and trust in yourself. And I love that for you. I really do love that for you. Because what clarifies the Ace of Pentacles is the Strength card, which is ruled by Neptune in this deck, and then the Three of Wands. Your gift of having incredible foresight is something that's going to be very, very, very beneficial towards your stability. And I feel like I need to end it there.